Chapter 3. Hours later, as the sun began its descent, the group made camp. A ring of sleeping bags, around the nascent flame kindled from twigs. Their silhouettes stretched away from its embers, painting a dark sigil in the pasture. The children watched the fire. Heat kissed their noses as silence roared. YN shot winks between the others, their bodies prone statues as if the surrounding weeds were cluster bombs in disguise. She took a breath, and all heads turned her way. What do you imagine they're like on the inside? Her gaze found Bertold Hoover, dark hair, sage eyes, a face etched with restless courage. He shifted away from the blaze, its fiery tongues licking confusion into his hollow bones. What do you mean? He asked gently. The demon Eldians, she clarified, dilating her eyes and waving a hand in front of her face to mimic their spectral aura. Bertold's eyes met hers before drifting to Marcel, the stargazer. Different, maybe? He said. It doesn't matter, Annie cut in. They're Eldians just like us, living in peaceful ignorance of their wicked bloodline. For Annie, it was the brass tacks or she wouldn't listen. Empathy? Redundant. YN bit down on her lip, and a gust of wind coolly swept past, rocking the flame. The grass beneath them tousled in the air, carrying the zephyr into the horizon where shadows of unknown sleep. But they didn't choose to be born in those walls, YN said softly, drawing looks from the rest. They didn't ask for any of it, just like we didn't ask to be born Eldian. Annie seized a stick and jabbed at the burning wood. Sparks cascaded the air, mingling with the dance of insects. I know, but that doesn't change the fact that they're shielded from the harsh reality. They're living in a bubble, protected from the consequences of our ancestors' actions, while we live out our lives striving to prove our innocence. Silence soaked the ground. The flame slowed. YN's gaze rose to the stars, cold fires in the heavens. A blue sheen covered the sky, making every galaxy gleam infinitely. Yet above all, the moon was the brightest. You know, it's oddly peaceful when it's just us, YN mused, drawing in a deep breath as she stretched her arms. I don't have to worry about being harassed just for existing. Her gaze found Rhina's, their eyes nodding in deadened harmony. If we succeed in this mission, perhaps Marley will treat Eldians better. Maybe they'll see that we're not inherently evil. Marcel spoke, a fragile hope. In the lull, the fire dwindled to a whisper of light in the dark. They succumbed to nature's lullaby, the distant call of owls and the icy murmurs of swaying boughs. In the foreground, some of them snored, spinning a cloak of ease over the prairie. Crickets chirped restlessly as celestial bodies stretched the canopy. The earth butted against the night sky, and like some old tale, they battled gracefully, somehow always ending in a draw. Then, without warning, the earth shuddered. Violent trembling ripped YN from peaceful respite. Her gaze was met with the horrors of a surfacing titan, clashing against dawn's gleam, a grim harbinger in the guise of Rhina's silhouette. Marcel acted instinctively, pushing him to safety before being caught himself. The titan, eyes of the void and hair a sepia cascade, clamped down, extinguishing his cry beneath the ruthless crunch of bone and flesh. The survivors could only watch as their leader returned to the dust. Annie fell to her knees, watching the titan hork down Marcel's corpse, her blue eyes vibrant against the blood that dusted her cheeks. Bertold stumbled backward like he had two left legs, his deafening wail piercing the sound, and Reiner sat at the forefront, watching intently, the hand of panic choking his heart. Now I know why they call us demons, YN thought. Snapping out of her shock, she screamed out to Braun, who was still frozen in place. Run, Reina! His eyes fluttered alive, and he scrambled to his feet. The quartet fled, hearts wailing in their chests, breaths raking barbed gasps. YN ran, possessed, each stride flirting with collapse. Eventually, she keeled over behind an overgrown stone, her eyes darting back to their marooned camp where the fiend had been lost to sight. She curled into a ball, hugging her knees to her chest with her ear against the damp soil, listening to the earth's heart. At first, the precipitation on her face was of cold sweat, but slowly it turned over to a cascade of tears spooning in the ground's embrace as she quietly sobbed for what seemed like an eternity. "We're dead. We're so dead."